Today, I have a very interesting guest with me today. I'm actually talking to the founder and CEO of Artemia, and it's Barbara Wichmann that I'm talking with today. And so, what is the company all about? I just want to give you a brief overview, right, to tell you not too much, but just a little bit so that you get a pointer before we get started. So, essentially, it's a full service strategic communications and digital marketing agency that specifically focuses on innovative solutions to bring in technology where it's needed in order to optimize the performance of their clients. Actually, I want to keep it at that because I'm very curious what Barbara has to tell us about the story of Artemia and also what they're currently doing and who they're helping. So Barbara, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Well, historically, our agency has been an international product launch company. So when we first started 20 something years ago, we took European startups to the US to Europe, Canada, Pacific Rim, and it was 100% high tech. I mean, bar none, which of course we then experienced the dot-com demise, shall we say, and went from there. So in the process of that, we broadened into, we were diversified really, enterprise clients, a lot of international government clients. So the range, but at the core, I think the common thread is that it's often, if not always, around technology. So we tend to like clients that are in the space of innovating new platforms, new devices like medtech, clean tech, fintech, things of that nature. And we look at the greater benefit, right? So it's a vertical usually that the clients serve, but ideally, if we have our way, they actually have solutions that apply to just about everybody, right? Even if it's B2B to a larger audience. On occasion, we do a niche market, but that's rare.
Mhm.
And we see opportunities for, so we work in the area of market entry. That's number one, right? Launching, of course, and then market expansion. So some of these companies are quite established in Europe, and then they come here and it's like starting fresh, right? In some ways, because the name recognition is not there. And one of the value adds that we bring to the table, in addition to telling the story, as it were, right, through the communications channels or the marketing channels, is really to look at cross-pollination. Is there a way where we can actually take those companies with their solutions and bring them to our other clients, often corporate clients, right? Because they would benefit from those particular solutions. So that's the interesting part, the strategy, right? So if you think about our team, and I think myself included, we really look for broadening the scope of the client. How else can they leverage what they have? We've done some pretty interesting partnering for clients where we had a tech client. We went to a healthcare provider and they said, "We love the tech; it's the best ever, but without the service portion, it's no good to us." So then we put those partners together, right? It was a telemed solution. We brought the technology together with an IPA, Independent Physicians Association, 2,200 doctors, to deliver the services. So it was one of, probably our biggest successes in that way. It resulted in the company exponentially growing and, setting up operations in the US, et cetera. So those are the stories we love, of course. On the startup side, and on the corporate side, we really focus in on how do you engage your target audience? And you'll hear this a few times from me, right? Whether it's on the marketing side, obviously, and or on the communication side, how do you engage your target audience? What makes it relatable, right? How do we get our vision across? So if it's our clients, we really, their strategic counsel, if you will, right? We look out for the messaging. How does it come across? But it's all research based. I should say that up front. It's all research based, real time data, so that we are on point, right? Because it's ever changing. I mean, just look at 2020 and now, right? Huge shift, and we need to accommodate that. So it's a long answer to your question, but
Really good.
I think it kind of sets us, up for the continued conversation.
Yeah, and the types of clients that you mentioned there, I think that's super interesting. What would you say is the typical journey somebody goes through, in order to learn about the company and getting started with you guys?
Very good question. I mean, we have a fantastic network, right? We're, as a women-owned, certified women-owned company, we're part of a national network of female CEOs,
Mhm.
and the membership includes corporate companies, right?
Mhm.
So we have access. We at least can get in front of people. That
Mhm.
doesn't guarantee anything, but we have a platform for visibility, shall we say. That's one. Networking, matchmakers all come with that. And then, of course, sort of in your area of the world, we are a former HubSpot partner.
Mhm.
So we use their, engine, I want to call it, right? Very substantial, obviously. Great work. And we do digital campaigns, whether it's social or otherwise, right? So we're very active in that space to really, I think, adopt to the times, right? We still like traditional tools like print and what have you, right? I think there's a place for direct marketing in terms of direct mail, right? It's come back because nobody gets it anymore. So you finally stand out again.
Yeah.
But of course, the greater game is online, it's digital, right? So you can't ignore it. And we happen to like it. So we're always looking for ways to optimize it, I think.
Mhm. Okay. So that's super interesting. So that gives us a bit of an understanding. If we talk about the website, right? What role would you say the website plays, Artemia's website?
Well, in very basic terms, it's like the business card, right? What
Mhm.
used to be the business card is now the website. I mean, we all, I think you included, we're on the phone with somebody, right? Or Zoom meeting these days. And while you pitch, they basically check your website, right? It's like
Mhm.
instant.
Yep.
And that's the entry point. They either like it or don't like it. And that can set the tone for a conversation, or it can make it very short, in terms of exchanging data. Um, I think what people maybe estimate is the need to constantly work on your sites, right? And I will say, as an agency, we're always so focused on our clients that sometimes we get a little lax in taking care of ourselves. Full disclosure here, and no
Mhm.
secret. But we aim to really be relevant in terms of what we post in terms of blogs and podcasts and things like that, right? Just to give current content, the topics that we know our clients care about and pertain to the industry, really, frankly, right? What are the trends?
Yeah. Okay. Super interesting. If we, let's say, look with a critical eye on the website, what would you say is the strength of the website at the moment?
Ours or in general?
Yours,
Ours.
Artemia website.
Ours. Well, it has a lot of information.
Mhm.
That's a strength. It's also a weakness, right? So if you have, when you have a lot of information, navigating it is so crucial, right? How do you get to the information that the particular viewer is looking for in the shortest time?
Mhm.
And that's an everlasting challenge, I think, right? Navigation is part of that, obviously. Visual assets. I think we all have observed how important video has become online, right? Especially in the last year or so. So we haven't quite caught up with our own ambitions in that regard.
Mhm.
Um, but we know it's an important piece, right? Show it to me, I get it, right? So the visual aspects are pretty important. I think for us, it's really about thought leadership, right? How do we establish that we know about your industry, you
Mhm.
are the viewer, and what convey to you what we do, and that within the context, of course, frankly, being somewhat smart about competitive aspects, right? So we don't put everything out there. That's really reserved for meetings with teams that
Makes sense.
are interested, right?
Okay. Is there something where you see, obviously, because always the founders and the CEOs have like a specific eye on the website? Is there something where you see there's room for improvement? Like, what would you like the website to be doing for the business?
I think we could simplify it some to make it easy on people,
Mhm.
get there faster. The video I mentioned, right? I mean, I'm just being honest about it. We're working on a series, so that will come out soon. And we're looking at other tools, right? I mean, do you have a chat function on your site? Yes, no. Why would you if not? We've hesitated to do that only because I think in tech, pure tech, right? If I sell a product, I find it completely acceptable. In fact, I'm probably going to use it, right? We are sort of in the arena of professional services, strategic, consultations. It's less accepted. I think people are a little hesitant to do that. They definitely don't want to feel like there's a chat box. Yeah, I mean, please spare us, because what we really claim to be is um, or serve as a very customized solution provider, right? We're a communications partner that really narrows in on your particular goals. So you don't get a cookie cutter solution, right? You get something that is special to you, which some, more general aspects, of course. So we are looking at tools, obviously, to add to our site. We are very active in SEO. We do, all of that good stuff. But there's always room to grow. I mean, I'll be the first one to say there's so much more we can do, and we need to just pace ourselves sometimes, right? Because
I see. Very
only
good.
so many hours in a day.
Very good. Let's come back about, talk about the company a little bit. So I would be curious, right? If, if sort of a young innovative company gets started with you guys, like what is sort of the typical sort of competitive advantage that they would be receiving from working with you guys?
Well, one is you hope that you have a synergy in terms of culture, right? That's super important, I think. And we're certified sustainable, so we look at that, are the clients, in keeping with our core values, because it's sustainability and diversity. And in these days, diversity, inclusion, and equity, really. So we do care about that. Doesn't mean you have to be of the same opinion as we are, but at least have a respect for it, right? So that's one. But then getting to the subject matter, I think what we bring is really extensive experience, right? We know how to launch a company. We know how to launch a product. If you're an existing, so if you're in the launch mode, we know what the pitfalls can be, right? Here's your roadmap. Well, what's plan B, C, and D, right? What do you do if? We active in crisis communications, right? That can mean what, it's not always a disaster. It's not a fire. It's not an earthquake or whatever. It can be your product is coming out later than you told everybody it would be. It could be a defect. It could be something that happens on the company side, in terms of maybe there's leadership questions, right? Somebody makes a statement that's really not appropriate. We see a lot of that disinformation, right? A number of things like that. So we would match it on the culture. Do we have the expertise in terms of the technical aspects of the client? And then really add our, not just expertise, but also the connections that we have, right? Who do you need to know? And if I just take the PR side, right? Because people have an easier time understanding that sometimes. You want to be in Forbes? Well, there are certain criteria that you have to meet to be even considered. Has nothing to do with us, has to do with the media outlet, right? And clients sometimes don't like to hear that. They just want what they want. And I don't blame them for that. I want them to have that too. But, we have to walk before we run, right? So are you, in fact, do you have something that's truly innovative, or it's so innovative? And who benefits from it, right? So is it B2C? Is it B2B? And then are you willing to listen to us? That's a big component too, right? We're honest with our clients. If we see that something is not the way it ought to be, we'll at least share it. Then it's up to the client to decide if they care to implement on that. And I give you an example. We had a client whose OEM agreements were really, we're not the CEO, we're not part of the leadership team, but we could tell by virtue of being at trade shows with them that something was off. So we can get you in Time Magazine, we can get you in CNN, whatever. If that part on the operational side is not in order, it doesn't help you. And you get the visibility, but then if you can't fulfill it, which, by the way, is another one of my core concerns. Can you fulfill? We can get you the visibility, we can position you, we can talk about your value add. Can you fulfill the orders? Because you will get them, right? With that kind of coverage, you can sell out in one day for proverbial, right? But we've had clients where they almost crashed the site, right? They had so much demand. We had in the beauty on demand kind of space, we got coverage on Birdie. It's one of these sites, a digital portal. They got 1,000 orders based on that one interview. That was more than they ever had in the history of the company, and it was a startup, right? So if you have to be able to scale, right? So we basically kind of interview the client as much as the client is going to interview us, or the prospect, I should say, right? Because you have to have a match. Now, do we have young faces in the company? Absolutely. We have a lot of young ones, super smart, willing, they definitely can meet the culture of the, let's say everybody outside of my generation. So we definitely understand culture, cultural differences. But I will say that we are, I think, very much able to relate regardless, because it's not about that. It's not about the box that you're in, generationally speaking, location-based, or whatever else, might define you. It's about what's your value proposition? Are we the right partner to get the word out? Whether it's a marketing side, strategic advertising, whatever it may be, or like I just gave the example of media coverage. And media coverage can be wonderful if you harness it properly. It can be also very difficult if it's not positive, right? Then what you do? That's all part of the same, um, solution, if you will. And I think there's an increased need of really being informed on the part of the companies. They may think that it's not so important for the moment, but it is important, right? You can market all day long, but if you have the visibility, by the time your salespeople call on somebody or email, whatever, if there's name recognition, it's so much easier, right?
100%. No, I think it's. I think you definitely laid the case there very clearly. What I'm curious is since we're slowly coming to an end of the interview, I would love to jump into our rapid fire questions with you, where we learn just a little bit more about you as a, as a CEO and the company.
Okay, I'm
Very
game.
good. Okay, so what's the last book that you read?
Well, I read everything online now, so let me go back. I should have known that you asked that question. I'll pass on this one, go to the next one. I'll have an answer in a minute.
Very good. What's the one single thing the company is focused on the most at the moment?
We are very focused on sustainability more than ever. I mean, we were in all things green in 2006, right? And then certified as ISO 14001. But right now, I feel like there is a recognition in the general public in business that it's an important piece, right? And to corporate social responsibility, but also it makes business sense. So that's where we play a lot right now. Education, training, in particular, and simply also outreach into communities.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing you want to have fixed for the company today?
We've always been cross-continental. I mean, we started international, that has stayed. We are 100% virtual right now, thanks to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
What would we fix? We bring more people on board, I think.
Very good. And the very last question would be, if today would be your very first day, right? It's the first time you're stepping into the door, working on or with the company. What's the one advice that you would give yourself?
I think that's such a good question. I started out pretty much as a sole entrepreneur. And what I would say is start with a great team. I know there's some risk associated, which is why I didn't do it at the time, right? I've seen a lot of partnerships sort of not continue. And at the same time, if you have a few people, you can divvy up the task, right? You each have your area of expertise, and it's frankly more fun, right? You can consult with each other. And I think the time is really one of collaboration. We do it with a lot of strategic partners that we have these days. I personally get a kick out of that. It's so great with smart people when you can exchange, concepts and thoughts and simply tackle some really difficult challenges. So yeah, start with a team, find the ones that you trust, not necessarily your best friends, right? But the people that have similar vision to yours.
Very good, Barbara. I really appreciate, right? I really, really appreciate that you took the time with us today to, tell us more about the company, more about yourself, and how what's your perspective on working with those innovative companies out there. So, thanks for being with us on the show today. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting everything that we discussed about Artemia today, what would be the one thing that they should remember?
Well, we're strategists foremost. We're excellent seasoned communicators. We're client-centric, that I consider a compliment. We got that from one of our big clients. And we really go the extra mile. I know that's easily said, but we do it, right? We look at your success. So if we don't have an answer to something, we'll find the answer. Maybe among our partners, we help you connect, whether it's your attorneys or whatever it may be, the expertise that you need. We'll make sure to connect you so that you have it like a 360, right? You can't expect everything from one party, but we can offer that. So we offer 360 solutions really at the end of the day for, to engage your target audience.
Very good. Thanks for being part with us on the show.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I hope it's helpful, and continued success to you.